Hello everybody to the Two Budget Gamers channel. I'm Antoineke and welcome to my new series called Life Experiences. This will be a short little, probably 3 to 4 episode series where I'll talk about who I am or what made me to the person I am today, because it's a very important aspect of life in my opinion. As well as some things that I just go through, that I've gone through in the past. So probably this will be about my early life up until high school. So this may get a bit emo-ish, but I can't help myself. I'm a sensitive guy. It's just who I am. Nothing's gonna change me in that regard. There may be some lessons in here for you guys, because any experience that you go through makes you stronger, and if you know what someone else has gone through, it may make you stronger as well. So I would advise you to stay around if you want to, if you can handle my emo-ness at some level. But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. So I was born in Aalst. It's a city in Belgium, in between Ghent and Brussels, which are two of the biggest cities in Belgium. And I wasn't a problem child. My parents raised me alongside my two grandmothers. So my grandmother from my dad's side, and then my grandparents from my mother's side. And yeah, I was pretty normal, and I went to my first years in school, which I was like 6 at the time. I had a really strange teacher that didn't like me at all, and it frustrated me a lot. But I'm not going to discuss what this person did to me, because they did do me hard, and I was not the only person that they did it to. So, but in each case, in the first 2 to 3 years of my school years, I was transferred to a psychologist more. It was actually a psychologist. And that person then referred me to another psychologist who did tests on me and discovered that I had autism. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I don't have any problem people knowing what I have, and it doesn't seem to hamper me in most daily activities. But when I was a child, it did do a lot of things to me, and specifically today, it still hampers me in stress scenarios or stress situations. So when I was a child, really from when I was 6 or 7 years old, I think, I've always loved video games. And I remember the first console I got was a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Silver, and that was the first time I played video game. And I can remember this, but I was so not used to this that I was afraid to leave the first town, because I was just afraid what was out there, and I loved the security of the first town better, which sounds really awkward, but it really happened. But a few years later, we bought my first actual console, which was the original PlayStation, and I didn't have very many games for it, but I still remember the games I had really well. I had a game called Porsche Challenge, which was a racing game with Porsche Boxers only, and it was really short, and it was really actually pretty bad when you think about it now. But back in those days, I played the living hell out of it. I probably finished the game approximately 20 to 30 times. I was too young for games like Final Fantasy and stuff like that to drop. I wouldn't have been allowed the games anyways, and so that was where I did play those games quite a bit. The games that I did have, there was like a game with, I don't remember the names, but I do remember the games themselves. There was like this game with like all like animals you had to play as. It was a child's game. but there was a Formula 1 racing game as well that I had. I had a few demos for, like, I think it was Spyro the Dragon. I had a demo for that, but I never really. My first actual, like, true when I really got into console gaming was when I got my PlayStation 2, but that only happened in early high school, so I'll talk about that in the next video. But just so you know, I did play a lot of video games and a lot of games in general. I was really into all the hypes at school, like, you know, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game at some point was a hype, and some other ones as well. And that was maybe an attempt for me to fit in the group better. Unsuccessfully, because people saw me as a weirdo ever still, since I pretty much dropped in their class, and the physical issues that I had pretty much, how would I say that, they broke my image down to everyone else, their image of me. These issues are finally resolved, thankfully, but yeah, they were a big issue for me back then. So I just want you guys to know that you watching my videos means the world to me. It really does. I am by nature extremely shy, and the fact that what I say is important to anyone just makes my day, really. I don't really care if I have 5 subscribers or I have 5 million subscribers. It will not change who I am. And to me, YouTube is more than just I would say a form of self-expression. It's also, I challenge myself because I am extremely quiet and silent and not very sociable at all. And to me it means so much that you guys enjoy this content I bring out. I try to be as funny as I can, and I try to, you know, really as much information as I can. And maybe you will notice at some point I will go through a thought shift, and if I can manage to keep producing videos, no matter how good or bad I do, it will be a great challenge I overcome. And I'm not trying to sound like some emo farts, but it really means the world to me, and I cannot stress this enough. It really does. You guys are amazing. You are the best. You are my heroes. So I remember when I was little, I didn't have many friends. I was bullied a lot as well. I had some would I say physical issues that was very laughable if you were a bully, and yeah, they went to town on me when I was small. But when I got a bit older, when I was in 4th, 5th grade, I still remember having an infatuation for cartoons, and I used to watch cartoons all the time. I remember coming home from school each and every day. I had this fast ritual. Every day I came home, I took off my my backpack, took off my vest, took off my shoes, and I just turned on the TV and I watched the cartoons that were up that day, at that time. And usually it were, first I watched an episode of, what was it, Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, which was it's kind of a mecha anime. It's really good, by the way. It's from the early 2000s or maybe late 90s. Pretty interesting one. And then there was Dragon Ball Z. And Dragon Ball Z, together with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was smaller, they had a major effect on me, because these were the first times I actually managed to live into a character. And there's the first actual really big series I followed. And I remember when I was smaller, I and my friends, how few they were, we replayed the Dragon Ball Z scenes that we saw in the cartoon. It's actually an anime as well, but I mean, anime are still cartoons, so yeah. And from that moment forth, people were really weirded out, because I remember that people telling me just today, like, that was really weird what you did back then. And it's still gonna say something that I never left, maybe. And I'm not gonna discuss that any further because you would be really, really weirded out by this. But it did shape me quite a bit. And Dragon Ball Z and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, they're probably the most iconic things that happened when I was smaller. Maybe Harry Potter as well. So I have a great infatuation for these things. Yeah, I still do a lot, but at least, I mean, there are still things that I can relate to, really. So another thing I just want to talk about is my later part in my lower school would be the time when there was a new person in class for the first time. I never had that before. I barely ever had it before. But it was the very first time that someone new came in class that I bonded with. I'm not gonna name his name because he pretended to be my friend, but he was not. He definitely was not my friend. I remember at that time I was playing a lot of stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game and other things, and I remember, and this may seem pretty well, trivial to you guys, but it showed some other things that he did as well that were more severe than this. So I remember that we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot together, and when we were playing and he was losing, he made up like the most ridiculous rules that I never heard of before. Because he was my friend, I trusted him, and he abused that trust. He severely abused that trust. He was good for when he was there, excluding the times when he cheated me in so many different ways, but for the time he was there, he was a good friend at times, but it was only for his own gain that he did that. So that's kind of the idea that I want to relate to you guys, that he wasn't a true friend. And my first true friend actually was the friends that I sort of kind of maybe dropped a bit because I did spend less time with him, and to spend time with him because he was close, he lived close to me, and we could be together more. And yeah, I mean, that was not a fun time for me, and we actually never spoke, or barely spoke afterwards. So we did speak like a couple of years ago when I saw him on a train, and we managed to talk a bit again, but he cheated me into so many things that I don't think it was funny anymore. But you know, that pretty much wraps it up, really, my lower school experiences. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you can always like it, you can subscribe, you can share it with your friends. Yeah, that's it for me, guys, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.